Hello grade 12, today we're going to do question 4 of the May-June exam 2019, and the question is as follows. There's your graphical user interface, and they explain all of the arrays that you have. And it's quite tricky because you're going to combine, you're going to work with one-dimensional and two-dimensional arrays. So in the code as follows, you'll see we are given an array of types. There's 4 different types, and we have to use that in code. And then we have another array, an ARR list, which has got a whole lot of trees, and then a hashtag and a C next to it. Then we have a two-dimensional array called AR trees, 4 rows and 6 columns, and those are going to have strings inside them. So we're dealing with strings only, which is not a bad thing, a good thing. And in question 4, we have to let's go and have a look. AR list must be stored in the two-dimensional array. So we're going to take the contents of ARR list, which is 24 different names of trees with hashtag and a C or hashtag and N, and put them into the two-dimensional array called AR trees. And all citrus must be in row 1, deciduous in row 2, and nut trees in row 3, and tropical trees in row 4. And then they explain that the C is for citrus, the N is for nut, and the D will be deciduous, and the S will actually be for tropical. Well, they don't say it, but it actually is. Oh no, there's a T, but in our question paper there's an S, so we're going to use that for tropical. S will be tropical, so we've got to go and see what that last character is in each case, and then put them in the right box of the two-dimensional array. So that's going to be quite tricky. So separate by type. So use AR types to determine the row value where the data of the tree must be stored. So C we know will be 1 because AR types is row 1. D is row 2, and 3 is nut, the N will be row 3, and the S will be row 4. And then we will display the array. Now what it will look like after we've finished is like this. These are the rows of your two-dimensional array, and these are the columns. Now these contents here are not inside the two-dimensional array. This is ARR type here. Remember, ARR type will go from 1 to 4. 1 is citrus, 2 deciduous, 3 nut, and so on. So they say we have to use the use AR types to determine the row value where the data tree must be stored in the two-dimensional array. Well, of course we're going to go through every single box of AR list, and there are 24 of them. Okay, we can go and check each one. If that is C, going to go and get the N out or the D out and so on. But what we can do is C, D, N, T. The D is the starting letter for deciduous, C is the starting letter for citrus, N is the starting letter for nuts, and T is a starting letter for tropical, but we have to use the S, unfortunately. So unless we go and change all of these characters to T's, which I'm going to do now, actually, won't take long. It's just it was just a bit of a mistake in the data files. So I'm changing these to T, so I know that's T for tropical. So now it matches the exam paper, the question paper. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's going to be exactly 6 per so it will be like that. Okay, it's going to be a T at the end. Basically, that's what we have to do. Just change these values quickly. Okay, so we know we have to go through every single box of our single array. Are we going to use a for loop? I guess we can do that. And then we've got to go and check. We've got to copy that last character and see if it's equal to the first character of AR types, and then put it into the corresponding row value of AR trees. That makes any sense, but let's go through let's try this out. I'm going to for loop counter, and because I know I'm dealing with a 2D array, I'll make these iRow and iCol, because I know I'm probably going to use them. But we'll start with our for loop counter. Sorry. Okay, equals 1, 2, 24, do. Right, begin and end. And end. Okay, so let's go and copy that last character. The last character from each list over here, C. So it's going to be the length of ARR list. So I'm going to do the following. Should I give it a character value? Could do. C first, colon char. So C first, colon equals ARR list, box number K, character length of AR list. Yeah, can you see what I'm doing here? No, I'm not doing it right. It is AR list. Yeah, it is AR list character number K. Let's rather use our length, get our length first, and then use that. Rlen colon equals length of ARR list character number K. Now that would be more understandable. And C first will be ARR list character number, array box number K, character number Rlen. It's not very often you see that. What is it? AR list box number K is, let's say that first one in the array AR list, and Rlen is the last character of this box, this the contents, this string here, which will be a C. And then we have to go and, I'm going to say case C first of, to me this is the simplest way to do it, C, but they say we're supposed to use ARR types, so we have to go through the array types and get that, so we can't do that. So we've got to say for another for loop. I'm going to call it M. For M colon equals 1 to 4 do begin and end. If C first equals ARR type, ARR types, okay, that array, the first character of the array, character number 1, AR types box number M, character number 1. So there we go again with these two square brackets, what it refers to. AR types box number M, or index number M, which is going to go from 1 to 4. If this character we got from that box of AR list, if that is equal to the first character of AR types, like that, that is the first character, then we're going to say R row colon equals M. End of story there. Now what column? We're going to have a column, so we're going to basically say our col has to be incremented each time. But where are we going to increment our col? Are we going to increment it here? No. It's got to go 6 times. So how are we going to get our col increment? Because somewhere along the line we've got to increment our col and then go and put AR trees, box number R row, comma R col must be equal to AR list, box number K. But it doesn't do good to do that, because we're going from K's 1 to 24, so this is going to go all the way up to 24, which is not allowed, really not okay. So if we increment our col, we basically have to go to 6. Our col must go only up to 6. So what I could do here, have an if sign. If our col is less than 6, then I'll increment it. Else I will basically say our col equals 1. Wait, 0, eh? No, because we've got to do that. We have to do this. Right, so we've got a bit of a pickle here. So let's go and figure this one out. And we still have to set our col to 0 somewhere along the line. So we'll try and put our col equal to 0. Remember, we're incrementing, so we need to set our counter. We're counting, so we need to set our counter to 0 before we do add 1 to it. So if I set our col to 0, this is not going to work here at all, isn't it? So we have to set it to 1. So if our col is less than 6, we'll increment it, otherwise we'll set it to 1. And over here, before we end this loop and go to the next box of ARR list, in other words, a list of all the things, all the tree names. Sorry. So if we go on again, let's start all over again from the beginning. Okay, so we're setting our col to 0. We're going from 1 to 24 because there are 24 trees to sort out, and we get the last character of each tree. Okay, there, that's how we do it in those 2 steps, getting the length of that AR list of trees, each box number K, and get, sorry, not the first, the last character. C last. Let's see last. Yeah, I confused myself by giving it the wrong name. If C last, you know, the last character, which is the length of the list, if that C last is equal to that one, and maybe just to be on the safe side, do an upcase on both, so we have a real foolproof algorithm here. Upcase means upcase for characters, because that is a character, this is a char, that is a char, so we have to use upcase and upcase both sides. Okay, then we get what our row is, and don't forget this M going 1 to 4 is going through ARR types 1 to 4. And they say in the instruction we have to use ARR types, use ARR types array. So we're using it. I know case would have been another option, but nah, we've got to follow the rules. Now, we get our row after we've got our matching character from the last character of here matched with the first character of AR types. And remember, I changed all that S's to T's. Anyway, then once we've got that, we got our row, and we have to get the column. So we set r col to 0 here, and if r col is less than 6, we're incrementing it, else we'll set it to 1. And I think that will work, and we'll test it now. So if it's 1, it's going to go to column number 1, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If it's greater than 6, if it's equal to 6, well then, yeah, we'll set it to 1. So I think that'll work, and we can test it by the next button click event where we have to display, and we want it to look like this when we display the whole 2D array. So that was quite tricky. Now we go to the, over here we just, putting AR lists contents into the 2D array, just like that. So now we're going to go to the next button for displaying, and this is a rich edit. It's not a 2D array, it's a rich edit, which makes it a little bit trickier, hey? We know how to display in the string grid. Simple. But in a rich edit, we have to build a string for each line. So I'm going to build a string. I'm going to make a var s line, colon string. I know that if I'm going through the 2D array, I'm going to use r row and r col. And I know that my r row, and I'm going through every box for r row equals 1 to 4, do begin and end, and then for r col equals 1 to 6, do, when in doubt, do this. You have to go through each box of the 2D array, put in your skeleton. I would call that my skeleton code most. So what do we have to do? Let's go and have a look. We want to display it like that. So we're taking each row, and it's exactly like this. We're going to join that one box to that one, to that one, to that one, and separate each one with a #9. The string is we're going to build a string of all of these of the first row, join together with #9s, and then the second row, and then the third row, and then the fourth row. So we're going to go 1 to 4. We're going to build a string of all the columns 1 to 6. So that's how it works, and we're going to set our string for every line to an empty string, and then we're going to do this. We say s line colon equals s line plus arr trees. We're dealing with a 2D array, so it's arr trees r row comma r col. Let's join that to a #9, and then before we finish, before we go to the next row over here, before we end this loop over here, we're going to say red question for dot lines dot add s line. Now let's hold thumbs that everything works so far. So that was 7 marks. Previous question was 11. Let's run this code. Oopsie daisy, error. Silly me, I forgot to put var on top there. You probably saw that. Right, separate by type. Okay, now I've disabled my display button. The display button was disabled. We have to enable the other 2 buttons after we go and do this lot over here. I forgot to do that. btn question 4 _ 2 dot enabled equals true, and we do the same for the other button 4.2. so I'm copying and pasting, just change that to a 3. So now we should be able to click on the other button and display our arrays correctly with any luck. Okay, this looks a bit messy, and that would be because our, I would say it's because our we have to actually use AR type. Yep, I'm going to say AR or type box number R row plus #9 plus. See, that has to be, in fact, what we need to do is put this over here rather. Initialize it to AR type. Where is AR type? AR type is this over here. AR types 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 of them. So AR types R row. It's going to go 1, 2, 3, 1, and then we're going from column 1 to 6, and then we display that in there. So let's go and see if this is actually going to work. Such as, okay, there seems to be some spaces here. Avocado, mango, kiwi, banana, that is all there. Lime, kumquat, tangerine, cherry, plum, apricot, pear. If I compare it with my printout here, can you see orange is gone and lemon is not there? Kumquat and tangerine are there, lime is there, but the first 3, 1, 2, 3 are not there. The apple, cherry, apricot, peach. Okay, I'm just checking out what my 2D array consists of. There's nothing in these 2 boxes here. There's hazelnut, macadamia, almond, walnut. 1, 2, 3, hazelnut, pecan, cashews not in, didn't come anywhere, but the last one, avocado, mango, kiwi, banana, guava, papaya didn't get in. Right, so we have some, obviously some errors with our 2D array, as you can see, some serious errors, and we'll see that it could be from when we filled it up over here, which is more likely to be the problem. Remember, we were going from 1 to 24, which is a little bit scary because we're going through every single box, okay, of this array. Going through the one, okay, we're checking through that one. We get the length of that, and we get the last character. Fine. Now, for m equals 1 to 4, we go from 1 to 4. We're trying to find what our row is. I would generally say yes, our row is working. But this is not actually working. Our row is fine. But this, our col, yes, we increment it and it goes to row 1, column 1. Okay, we get the next, let's go and get the next one, which is hazelnut. Okay, and then the column 1, sorry, goes to column 1 of, so the first one, orange, is C. Okay, so get the first box and we know that it's C. We copy it from, get the last character, and if the last character equals AR types, character number 1 of AR types, which is a C, then our row will be, well, it's going to be 1, isn't it? And it doesn't, that's going to stay at 1, our row will stay at 1, fine. But then we know that our col is 0, so if it's less than 6, then we're going to increment our col, it'll be 1, and AR trees, row 1, column 1 is going to have that first list contents in it. Then we're going to go to K. K is going to go to hazelnut, which is nuts. So get the last character n if n equals the n of types, and that will be in that one, then row 3. Okay, but remember our col had not changed to 0. We have to set our col equal to 0 for each contents over here. Each time we read a line from the, get an item from the array box number, we set our col to 0. Everything hinges on where you initialize your counter. So let's run it again. So I've put my counter over here, and let's see if it works now. Separate by type, display. Oh, even worse, isn't it? Look what happened there. We set our count to 0, the column to 0, and now that's what we've got in our 2-dimensional array. We set our col to 0. So what's going to happen is this is never going to be incremented, so that's also the wrong place too. What we could do over here, set our col to 0 when we get our row value, because we're trying to get the column value next. So I'm going to say our col equal 0 here, then yeah, so this actually needs to go in there. Yep, because we need to increment a column. We need to get to the next column of our 2D array. So this is going to be a bit tricky, because remember we're incrementing our row, and we can only increment our col 6 up to 6 times for rows m. And over here we need to find out our column now, and we're not going to find out the column there. We're going to find the column inside. When we find our match of the row, we're going to go and calculate what the column is. Yeah, we have to calculate what the column is. We can do it in a number of ways. We can say if AR trees, if it's not equal to an empty string, we can do that. Yeah. We can go and check the box number of our col. If AR trees are row our col, so we can increment a column, and then we can go and loop. Yeah, that's what we can do. So if our col is less than 6, no, we're not going to use that. Not going to use that. I'm going to go and see if the contents of the 2D array, where I want to insert a new tree, if I want to see if there's actually anything in it. So I'll use a for loop again. I'm going to use for our col equals 1 to 6. Do begin and end. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to say if AR trees square brackets R row comma R col, if it's not equal to an empty string, then I want to put that box in there. But actually I should not use a for loop, because I want to stop. So while our col is less than 6, do I'm going to set our col equal to 0 here. Then I'll increment our col, and I will also set a Boolean flag false, because I want to stop this loop as soon as I find that there's an empty cell and I want to put the item in there. Begin with increment icol, so it's going to 1. If that's equal to an empty string, then we're going to put the item in there and end, and we will set b found equals to true, and the loop will stop. Okay, that's quite a mouthful, isn't it? So let's go through it again. So a bit of trial and error, and we have to get to our solution. Let's hope this is a solution. We'll find out when we go and run the program. So we have the length of the contents of the array. We get the last character, which is that, or the contents of the array, box number, character number rlen. And then we go through all of the boxes of AR types, which is only 4. And we're doing 1 to 4 here. So if uppercase is equal to that, and it'll only happen once, don't worry about it, the fact that it's a for loop. So if it is, then we'll have r row equal to m. So we've got our box number, the row number. We're going to try and get the column number. We're going to go through that particular row. If it's 1, we're going to go through every single column of row 1 to see if there's an empty string there. So we're going to go through every single column of row 1, and if there's an empty string, then we're going to go and put our tree name AR list K into that box of the 2D array. So remember, we're going through AR list K 24 times, but over here we're trying to figure out which column to put it in, and we know it has to go up to 6. So if it reaches 6, it means we can't get it anywhere, it can't go any further. You can't put it in. But in this case, the data is such that there will only be 6 citrus, 6 tropical, 6 deciduous, and 6 nut trees. There will only be 6. And it will look exactly like that. But anyway, regardless of that, we are using our code here to stop the loop when we find that we have got 6 columns. Our call is 6. Which means we've already incremented call and checked to see if it's empty. So if AR trees, the 2D array in that particular position, if it's an empty string, if we increment call and it's box number 6, then column number 6 of row 1, say, then that 2D array is going to hold the tree name from AR list. And we'll set b found to true. The loop will stop. This loop will stop here, and then the for loop will carry, sorry, not that for loop, sorry, that for loop will also stop. Well, though that for loop won't, it actually won't find any more because it'll be fine. And then this one is the end of that K loop. So you have to really keep your wits about you with this particular question. As you can see, that's the beginning and the end, that's the beginning and the end, that end and begin match, this end and begin match, and then you have this begin and end match. But let's see if my algorithm is true, as I call. I have to declare a Boolean variable, and semicolon before if. Now we'll see. Yeah, that works. So there's just a bit of an issue here. Why do I have that space like that in terms of the display? I would say that's got to do with the tab stops. So we can change the tab stops. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tabs, but everything else looks perfectly correct. If I go and compare it with my list over here, banana, papaya, kiwi, yeah, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in each one. So that third algorithm that I tried worked. As you can see, there's quite a tricky algorithm. That was 11 marks. So now we're going to go and see. We can change the tab stops and it'll look better. As you can see, these are the tab stops that they've put in, and they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, there's 6 tab stops. They've set this already, but it's not 100%, I would say. Seven, 3. Or maybe 4, 2, 1. Just change some numbers there. Oh, I made it 50 for the first one. Maybe it shouldn't be 50, but never mind. Actually, it should be a bit more than 50. Yeah, the tab stops are a little bit messed up, I have to say. Is it my code that I messed up? Because I'll put a hashtag there, and there's going to be 6 tab stops there. So maybe this is what the problem was, my code. See the #9s? There has to be 6 #9s, so there they are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you know. That's probably going to solve that problem, more or less. Anyway, it's close enough. See the nuts? Yeah, grapefruit C was a bit larger, so tab stops are quite tricky things. I might as well just do this, you know. Probably not going to be a good idea, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm leaving 100 spaces for each tab. I mean, yeah. Oh wait, it says there are only 4. There was only 4 tabs. And they're supposed to be... Oh wait, there it is. Good. There we go. So it was the tab stops after all, basically. Oh, and it's going off the page now because I've made it too large. But that's okay. We can make this one 60. And that one can be 570. Maybe it won't go off the page. I know I'm wasting time with this, but it's good to know how these tab stops work. Rather. No, we need it as 100. Anyway, you get the idea. I'm sure you don't want to waste any more time on this. It's fine like that. Right, now the sort alphabetically is going to be tricky. What it is that we are going to sort each row alphabetically. So we're going to go through each row and sort it alphabetically. So each row we're going to sort. Then we go to the next row and sort that into alphabetical order. And then the next row and sort that into alphabetical order. But the other thing that we have to do is just chop off the last 2 characters, which is basically easy. We know how to do that. So we're going to go through every single box of our 2D array. Now we know that. R row, R col. So we'll do this for R row equals 1 to 4. We know we're going to go from 1 to 4 here. And I will use a begin and end. And then for R col equals 1 to 6. and then I'll use a begin and end again. So first I'm going to chop off the pieces of ARR trees. It's a 2D array, ARR trees. I'm going to delete from it, from ARR trees, box number R row, comma R col, starting at the length. Well, this is where I want to use an integer really. Because it's much easier to understand. So our length is a length of each box. Length of AR trees, box number R row, comma R col. So we're going to, what is the second last character of a string? The length minus what? So if this is 2 characters, hash, and then a D. The length is 3. Okay, let's say the length is 3. What character is this? It's the length minus 1, isn't it? The length minus 1. Because that is character number 3, then this is character number 2. 3 minus 2 is 1. No. 3 minus 1 is 2. Take the length minus 1 and we get character number 2, which is what we need. So it's a length rlen minus 1, and it's 2 characters we are deleting. So we're starting at the length minus 1 and we're deleting 2 characters. So we got our AR trees box number. Remember, this whole thing in here is a string. That is a string. So we delete that, delete the last 2 characters. Now we have to go and sort in alphabetical order. What is in each one? It's a string. So I'm going to use K and L because I just like it. And S temp, my sorting algorithm, comes to mind. So we have our string temporary variable for doing our swapping. And remember, we're going across this row here, and our col is going to go from 1 to 6. And I'm going to do the following. I'll say for K equals 1 to 5, not so. And then for L equals K plus 1 equals K plus 1 to 6. Do begin and end. Now how are we going to reference each box? We're dealing with our row, and that is basically it. But we're not doing it over here. Are we going to do it for each column? No. Get out of there. That archive is just deleting stuff. Come on, delete. Just trying to delete these rows here. That's all I'm trying to do. There we go. I'm going to put the code here rather. After I go through each column for each column doing that. But now I'm going to go through the columns to sort for that particular row. Now remember my sorting algorithms. So I use K and L to remind yourself of your sorting algorithms. I'm going to say, but how are we going to do this? AR trees, box number R row, column K. If that's greater than AR trees, box number R row, and column L, then we're going to do our swap. Can you see where the K and L come in now? We'll say S temp colon equals one of them. Then we'll say that one is going to be equal to the other one, the L column. And then we say the L column equals S temp. Take note, I use copy and paste to make life easier and quicker, which you must do in exams because time is limited. So inside our, this is our row, and we're doing that first, and then we go and do another for loop somewhere quickly before we get to the end of the, before we get to the next row. So for row one, if it works for row one, it'll work for all the rows. For row one, we're first going to go and delete all the strings of all the columns, and then for row one, I'm going to use K to reference my column numbers for swapping only in row one. So our row is going to stay row one here. K and L are going to do the magic for K equals 1 to 5, you know, the number of boxes, which is 6. So imagine that one row is a single array. One row of our 2D array is a single array, you can imagine, and we reference it with our row. It's going to stay at row 1. K and L are going to be the columns 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And there's one thing that I missed here, which would have really been a game changer if I left it out. Begin and end, people. Begin and end. Always remember that. Okay, now what they're going to, what they said, now that's it, guys. That is it, 12 marks. Let's see if it works. And then we're going to click the display button. Of course there are going to be some AR trees, of course. Of course I'm going to have some syntax errors. So we have to click all the buttons again, that one, then that one, and now that one. Oh, okay. Then, oh, we sort, and then we go click on display again. Yay! Let's see if it's in alphabetical order. G, J, K, L, M, S, T. Yep, looks like it's in alphabetical order, doesn't it? If we go look at the question paper, we'll have a look at the question paper, shall we? There it is. Yay! Job done. So try and do that by yourself, and I'll see you with the next one. Bye bye.